Welcome to Insider Insights Podcast, a place where we dissect everything social media. I'm Theo, content writer at Socialinsider and a longtime fan of everything social. Every month, I'll talk to social media professionals who work in freelance, in-house for a company, or in an agency environment to get the best of all worlds. So grab your coffee and let's jump in. Corina is a social media expert who has worked at Samsung Electronics Romania for the last 3 years. She has coordinated social media and omnichannel campaigns at all CDM levels and went deep into the marketing funnel, generated leads, and built customer journeys. Despite the complexity of this field, she believes in simple but powerful things. The greatest goals can be achieved with perseverance and motivation, along with a strong team beside you. Discover the key elements for an effective social media strategy and what it takes to be a good specialist in today's episode. Hi, Corina. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. It is a pleasure to have you as my guest, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story with social media. How are you?
Hello, Theodora. I'm very good. Yes, thank you for the invitation, and congrats for the hard work you put in this podcast. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Okay, so let's start this podcast episode by getting to know you a little bit better. How would you describe yourself in a few words?
Hi guys, I'm Corina Enake. I'm an ambitious person, always with an eye on the present and the other one to the future, staying alert with what's fresh and new in the industry. That's it.
Okay, short and sweet.
Yes. Short is good in social media.
Exactly. Tell us, how did you start your career? Have you always worked in social media, or was it something that happened later in your life? And if you can walk us through your past roles, because I would like people to get to know you even more.
Actually, yes. I've worked in social media from almost the beginning of my career. It started as a personal initiative to run a Facebook account, and because I enjoyed the dynamic of this field very much, I decided that this is the path I want to follow. So all my jobs were related to social media. I worked in recruiting services, in sport, on client side, and in alcohol industry, managing free accounts from an agency. Understanding both sides gave me a better understanding of the workflow. Moreover, there were both products and services, and as we all know, there can be different approaches for each of them. Right now, I'm a social media specialist at Samsung. I'm responsible for all social media accounts and activity, and let's say a guardian of the galaxy for gaming and photography communication pillar. As a marketeer and social media specialist, to be on different industries and have to communicate both product and services, it gives you the chance to gain more experience in a short period of time.
That's great. You have quite a story, and it was basically love at first sight, right?
Yes.
So you fell in love with social media from the beginning.
We are right now we are in we have Drago Beta in Romania. So yes, it was the love at first sight, and we can celebrate it right now.
Exactly. Now, I personally know that a lot of people, especially the ones who don't work in this industry, think that a social media manager job is easy and all you have to do is scroll through social media all day. So, to debunk this myth, please tell us, what does your day-to-day schedule look like? Because I'm sure it is more than just scrolling through social media all day long.
Scrolling is like a sport for us, as I mentioned, but I think that after this pandemic period of time, all of us started to focus on work. So for me, many of my activities are in this direction. I usually start my day checking the phone, scrolling, have some morning routines, and then I jump into my laptop. And then work like in Rihanna's song, work, work, work. I start by making my agenda based on what's urgent to solve or in what meetings I have to attend. Then I take some notes and say hi to my colleagues. It's nicer this way. It usually depends on the time of the year. In January and February, for instance, I was in presentation mood, always with some slides in front of me, preparing the strategy, setting directions, and making analysis. Also, it was the technology moments for us. It took place just an international event where the innovative companies are launching the newest technologies. Also, Samsung had the most important launch of the S series. Obviously, all of this had to be communicated in social media, and we generated buzz around them. Besides all these activities, I have a golden rule I follow. At the end of the day, I must learn or read something new. It's a way of keeping me up to date, let's say.
Yeah, I actually had a lot of social media managers guests in this podcast series, and they all told me that it is a must to read the news basically every day, to keep up with the new algorithms, the new changes in social media platforms, because things change really quickly in this industry. So you always need to be updated with everything that is happening around the world, with trends, things like that. So thank you for sharing that. Because you mentioned earlier that you're in charge of strategies and campaigns, I think it would be interesting for our listeners to know, where do you find inspiration for your content strategies and campaigns? Because I can imagine it's quite challenging to come up with new ideas every time and stay relevant in the digital world, especially when working for a tech company such as Samsung is.
Social media strategies have to be, from my perspective, an open task. You shouldn't limit yourself to something that you set up at a specific moment. So the inspiration can come from everywhere, as a learning from a project to something that you noticed on a platform, or a great insight that comes from your community. Regarding the campaigns, it can be difficult sometimes to find the creative idea that no one had it before. So in this case, the inspiration can come from an internal need, how a product can be used or how you want to position it in the market, from a group discussion to a trend that is very hyped that moment. In addition, there is another way to catch great ideas from my perspective. That they can't simply come to your mind. You have to refresh your thoughts by networking, getting to know new people, and discover different perspectives. Reading something that is not related to your industry, being up to date, as we already mentioned, you mentioned before. For instance, what Instagram and TikTok for sure launched, or today I read that Facebook is launching some kind of reels, short format, to be up to date with the new trend that TikTok launched. So if we mix all these things, there is a chance to find a good idea. And let's not forget, social media is about people, not algorithms. So follow them beyond data and technical stuff.
Yeah, I really love that you mentioned that. I always say that social media is about people, and we shouldn't forget about the social in social media. So to sum up, you said that it's really important, besides reading the news and keeping up to date with the trends, it's also really important to be in a constant relationship with your communities, right? Because they are the ones that are really testing and trying your products. And they are the ones that can provide you real feedback and real value that you can put in your content strategies and campaigns. Can you tell us, how do you manage to keep your communities hooked? Are you in charge of community management as well, or at Samsung?
I'm working with an agency, a social media agency that handles the community management as well. Okay. I'm approving and coordinating the community. Let's say we have some bad news, problems, or someone is complaining about something. They are coming with an email or call me and say, okay, this is the problem, how we can solve this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can give them some guidance. I will ask if there are something, I don't know, technical stuff, my internal colleagues that are specialized in this more than me in this field, and we try always to solve the client's problem and to be satisfied on Samsung products. I think that is very important in social media to be close to your community, because they are your consumer, your clients. You are doing all of the projects and posts and all of your activity for them. So you have to be close to them.
Exactly. I 100% agree. Okay, because we mentioned earlier that you also are in charge of social media campaigns at Samsung. Can you tell us what is the social media campaign that you are most proud of, especially because Samsung is such a well-known brand and everyone has seen at least a post or an ad from Samsung on social media?
It's not actually a campaign. Okay. It's more like a communication pillar called Play On with Samsung. About 3 years ago, we launched this gaming platform under which we've made many, many projects, from competitions to partnership and event participations. Everything was well planned, and we managed to level it up year by year. For example, last year we achieved more than we expected. We were chosen as the communicator of the year in gaming, and internally our entire efforts impacted the brand indicator. And based on a national study, we concluded that 50% of gamers from Romania are associating Samsung with gaming. This is amazing for me. I'm proud. I'm really proud of this communication pillar, because I was one of the people internally that started to communicate in gaming and support this initiative. Moreover, I am very, very proud under this communication pillar about 2 tournaments made last year with 2 well-known games, worldwide known, Wild Rift and PUBG. I think that on top of that, I'm very proud of the agencies involved and all of my colleagues who enthusiastically joined the campaigns. It's a big thing to succeed together people to join your project, even though is not their their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Is not actually they are not knowing gaming very well, so we're very enthusiastic to join, and I'm truly grateful for that.
That's really great, and congrats on this project. It sounds amazing. I'm really happy for your achievements. I was wondering if you could share with us what are the steps behind the social media campaign, just briefly. If you can think of the steps, what was the process behind the social media campaign?
It depends. We can talk about a contest. Mm-hmm. Or we can talk about an activation campaign that have at the heart only the message, the content. Mm-hmm. But I think that we can have the following steps: insights from your community or from your internally. Let's say you have a product and you want to communicate it in a certain, or to position it in the market in a certain way. And from that point, you have to establish the phases. If you're having marketing funnel from awareness to acquisition, or only to make awareness and engage with your community. And after that, the creative ideas that for Samsung case came from social media or brand agencies, approving, starting to discuss with the media agency about the media plan, what are the most important placements we have to be, social media or not only, Google or even, I don't know, offline placements like the old Hash or, I don't know, owns shops. And then to make some kind of plan to be up to date with the results, monitoring, adjusting if the case, and after that, the reporting.
Tracking your results, right? And
it's very important to track your results because it can come up something new, something challenging, an issue maybe, and you have to not launch the campaign in social media and expect to the results at the end of it. It
doesn't work like that.
It does not work like that in social media, for sure not.
Yeah. And I like that you said that it all starts with the community, right? So the very first step that you guys do is listen to your communities and get insights from them. And I really like that. Okay. Can you describe us what is Samsung's social media strategy? I imagine this is kind of a hard question because this is not something that you can easily define, but in a nutshell, what would you describe your company's social media strategy?
It's I will try to be short about our social media strategy. I think that it became in time more and more complex, and right now we have the most challenge. We are in the most challenging period of time for social media, and the strategy we had 3 years ago changed a lot. I think entirely changed. So right now we are on the best version we ever was before. For me, complex doesn't mean the presentation have to have more slides than before. We want to cover in our strategy as much as we can all the activity the brand have. For example, a few years ago, Samsung switched a little bit the commercial approach. It became B2C, not only B2B, business to consumer. We have direct purchase to our consumers on our .com website. So from that moment, we started to invest in social to e-commerce approach. So things were added along the way. And right now we have several communication pillars, several commercial approaches, because Samsung is a very complicated brand, have a wide range of products from smartphones to a refrigerator, even some services like Samsung Knox. So our strategy is, a little bit more complicated than on other brands I worked. Because it lays the foundation of our entire activity and lays the foundation in order to have a coherence throughout the channels, having so many topics we have to communicate and discuss with our community. But from my perspective, there are some key points to highlight in a strategy. In general, not only on Samsung, social media channel mix, audience you want to reach, passion points or communities you want to build. I mentioned before gaming. We are not having only gaming tactics or projects. We have photography, videography. We have many. We are trying to reach tribes. It's a very trendy word right now. Gen Z and so on, along with medium and long-term tactics that tries to help you be relevant to your community. You have to pay attention to your brand, how your brand is seen in the market. And right now we are having many tools. We are analyzing the Samsung and comparing with the competition, not only in tech, in FMHG and many industries, to be relevant, to be on top of many other brands, because social media is very noisy. And that's it. I hope I was coherent with my answer. Yes, it's a tough question for me.
Yeah. Of course, you were cohesive, and I really enjoyed your answer. I'm sure it is challenging to work for such a big brand as Samsung is, but I'm sure you have great satisfactions as well from it, as you mentioned earlier, some of your achievements. Now, because you said that you said yourself that it is quite challenging to work for such a big brand. Can you tell us what are the most significant marketing challenges you face at your job?
Yes, I think that time is the most challenging thing for me. It's a little bit funny, but I will explain why. Samsung has many messages, as I mentioned before, to communicate in social media, from daily posts to campaigns. In addition, we have brand campaigns, different partnerships, CSR initiatives, internal achievements, and all of them have to be communicated in all our social media channels. So for me, managing to prioritize all these topics on all our social media and handling all the activities with our agencies is quite challenging. And for many times, time is the most powerful factor that holds us, or makes things more complicated, more challenging and difficult to handle. I succeeded to solve everything in due time, yes, but sometimes I wish I could have a couple of hours tucked away in my back pocket to be used when I need it. I think for me it can be an advantage sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see why time is a factor here, because everything happens so quickly on social media, right?
Yes.
And a social media manager never sleeps. I saw those memes in which they represented social media managers on their phone, even on their vacation, or so yeah. I can imagine.
I start my day and I end my day scrolling. So yes.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Now, because our new normal looks a lot different than it used to, thanks to the pandemic, can you tell us how did the pandemic change your company's social media strategy? If you can think about budgets, I don't know, communication, team cohesion, new strategies, internal procedures, anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think the pandemic changed everything, from people and working processes to way of making things. Social media and online communication in general became overnight indispensable. And under these circumstances, many people understood their roles better. Let's take a simple example. The offline activities were transformed and we created online events, which obviously integrated more social media tactics than before. We adjusted our social media strategy due to pandemic, and I think many brands changed and have to be changed because when times are changing, your community, your consumer is changing, and you have to adjust. You follow and customize the content, the project, because, as mentioned before, your audience is changing. And during the pandemic, there were many changes. Plus, there are more campaigns than before. Most of our new products in Samsung enjoy a complex launch phase, from pre-registration to pre-order and amplification. We increased the number of engagement tactics because people were forced to stay at home, and we couldn't engage in other ways offline, for example, with them. We used many new formats like AR filters to discover virtually the product, because they couldn't go to the shop and touch the product, feel it. And I think many industries changed, especially fashion and beauty, where I saw many AR and VR tactics implemented. Furthermore, I think that as a team, we and many of my colleagues from other industries perform better due to pandemic, because there are many meetings. We try to be connected to all the people, the third parties, own colleagues, agencies, and so on. And we are trying as much as we can to not lose the human connection. So I think there were many changes, but there were many changes that help us to evolve. And for social media, I think this was a great evolution. I think I don't know, 2 years in evolved very very much like in 10.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how I like to think about the pandemic as well, even though it had obviously negative impacts on all industries and on us as people. I think it came with some positive aspects as well, because it challenged us to adapt, to come up with new methods, new ways to think about life in general and in social media as well.
Yes, and you can see now that metaverse is very hyped trend like right now, and I think that it came up because of pandemic, because everybody wanted to consume more content or to be in a virtual world, to have an avatar and make have fun in other world, a better world, let's say, for so sometimes and for some of us. And I think that social media will be totally changed in a few years because of the pandemic. I think that social media channels will have to adapt and be up to date with what consumers want right now. Meta experience.
Yeah.
For others.
It will be interesting to see. And I personally cannot wait to see what social media will bring us. Now, if you could teach me 3 things about social media from every experiences that you had until now, what would you teach me?
It's a hard question. There are many things I think we have to pay attention as a social media specialist. And I think first, understand the core value of your brand and try to communicate in brand manner. Social media platforms or viral content come and go. Your brand must be consistent and true to itself to be loved by your community. You can be more playful, for instance, on TikTok, but on LinkedIn, you have to adapt your formal approach. It's more than obvious that you adapt to a different audience and to a platform that promotes a specific behavior and formats. Even the attention span is different. But at the heart, your brand must be recognizable on any social media platform. Second, when you want to start a social media campaign, I think that there are 2 things you have to look at. What are your main objectives and the key message you want to deliver. And this is the moment you can decide which social media platform is the main one, best tactics, what are the other social media platforms you want to integrate and why, which is the core target, what media formats you want to use, etc. Everything becomes clearer from this moment. And for a social media specialist, it's very important to see the overview firstly, and after all these details. Third, you must understand the role of the social media in the consumer journey based on the commercial activity and the profile of your brand, which are the touch points social media is essential for. If you draw the consumer journey, you'll find out that social media is present in different stages. So identify where it can make a difference from the moment the user discovers the brand to acquisition and long after using the product and service. Between this milestone, you can implement many campaigns and tactics to keep a strong relation with consumers. So on the last bullet point, let's say, it's about the strategy, the strategic approach and how you can use social media in different stages your consumer is in the user experience.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing those. I'm sure these are all useful tips for our listeners. now, because this session is coming to an end, I always like to end my podcast episodes with this question. What are your future plans and where can people find you and follow you?
Professionally, I want to continue to develop myself, to gain a better understanding of people management and how to lead people to be more efficient together. And to take a step forward, I want to learn more about the other online platforms, not only social media. Personally, I want to start to create TikTok content, and I'm very passionate about fashion, and I want to create this kind of content on TikTok. I saw it's very is trendy and is viewed by the user there, and travel as much as I can. I miss traveling and discover new places and cultures. You can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook as Corina Inaki, and in a more informal ways with memes and funny stories on Instagram.
That's great. It's actually one of my resolutions too, to start making TikToks, because I'm on the platform every day, and I should start making my own videos, right? If I'm consuming the platform.
How many hours you spend in TikTok daily?
At least 1 or 2, especially before going to bed. Which I'm not sure it's a good or a bad thing, but
no, it's a good thing. I think that you understand right now better the platform, and after you understand it very, very good, you can make the content there, because as you noticed, the content is very different, and you have to be very flexible and to make trendy content there, from videos based on some challenges. Music
is very important. Exactly.
Yeah. Lip syncs, and it's funny there.
Duets. Yeah, it's a whole new world.
It's like a Netflix, but in a short
video format. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much, Corina. Once again, it was a pleasure having you as my guest, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was a real pleasure for me.